This session has been designed to give an overview of KA 105 with a question and answer session, but to encourage discussion, I prepared some slides based around the questions asked during webinars and events from the previous calls for applications, and based on the frequently asked questions we receive on the help desk. If you have any questions about a topic not covered, please ask them on the chat facility. We'll also be sending a copy of these slides and a recording of the presentation, along with a handout of helpful links, out to all the registrants for the webinar, so you'll have access to any links shown on the screen when the slides are sent out to you. Just a few practical pieces about the webinar today. We're using audio in your devices, so please let us know if you can hear everything all right. If you can hear, can you please raise your hands now? On the right-hand side of your screen, there's also a chat facility which you can use to communicate. Okay, now moving on to the presentation. We'll go through the presentation starting with an overview of Key Action 105 and key topics to consider when making an application. There will be time for any questions related to the topics at the end of each section. Please note that this session is not designed to look at how to complete the application form, but rather to answer any specific queries you may have. For a step-by-step guide on how to complete your application, please sign up for our next webinar, which focuses specifically on the new e-form application. Additionally, if you prefer to read the notes on how to complete the e-form, you can find these in our guide for applicants, which is found on our website under the section Apply for Youth Mobility Funding. Now, before we begin, I would like to provide reassurance in the context of the triggering of Article 50. The process for beginning the UK's exit from the European Union, also known as Brexit, as Erasmus Plus is a European Union programme, we have received questions over the recent months about how it is affected by the vote to leave the EU. We therefore understand that this is necessary to keep those interested in the programme updated, and particularly those of you intending to apply for funding in the 2017 call. So firstly, the UK is still a member state and fully participating in the Erasmus Plus programme. This event does not affect UK organisations applying for Erasmus Plus funding in 2017 or taking part as a partner or consortium member. Applications that are successful under the 2017 call will be awarded funding for the duration of the project. Before you can make an application, you need to know whether your organisation is eligible to take part in the Erasmus Plus programme. The following organisation types are eligible to apply for funding: public bodies at local, regional and national levels, non-profit organisations, non-government organisations including a European youth NGO, informal groups of young people who cannot take part in EVS projects, associations and social enterprises as long as they are registered with the Charity Commission, an association of regions, a European grouping of territorial cooperation, and a profit-making body active in corporate social responsibility. Please be aware that as a result of the outcome of discussions between the National Authority for the Erasmus Plus programme in the UK and the European Commission, it has now been confirmed that UK organisations can participate in the Erasmus Plus projects either as a project partner or as an applicant, as long as they have a legal personality. Therefore, UK participating organisations must be able to evidence that they are legally registered in the United Kingdom and are incorporated or have a separate legal personality, i.e. a legal distinction between the owner and the business. The accepted unincorporated structures for 2017 Round 3 youth applications include registered charities on the Charity Commission website for England, Wales, Scotland or Northern Ireland, such as trusts and associations. Organisations who cannot provide proof of registration with their country's Charity Commission will be unable to apply. As a basic overview, under Key Action 1, within the youth sector there are opportunities for young people and youth workers alike. The types of projects that can be supported under this Key Action are mobility projects for young people and youth workers, that can comprise of youth exchanges, European voluntary service and/or youth worker activities. In the following slides, we will look at these in a bit more detail. We will start with projects that are focused on mobility for young people. There are two types of activities: youth exchanges and European voluntary service. Youth exchanges allow groups of young people aged 13 to 30 to meet and live together working on a chosen topic. It's important to note that the minimum age of 13 must be reached at the start of the activity, and the maximum age of 30 must not be exceeded at the time of application. The project duration can vary between 3 to 24 months. We will start with projects that are focused on mobility for young people. There are two types of activities: youth exchanges and European voluntary service. Youth exchanges allow groups of young people aged 13 to 30 to meet and live together working on a chosen topic. It is important to note that the minimum age of 13 to 30 must be reached at the start of the activity, and the maximum age of 30 must not be exceeded at the time of the application. The project duration can vary between 3 to 24 months, and the activity's duration can be between 5 and 21 days, not including travel. The types of activities that can be included are workshops, exercises, debates, role plays, simulations, and outdoor activities. All of these are to be designed and prepared by young people before the exchange. For this type of project, there needs to be at least 2 participating organisations from different countries, with a minimum of 4 participants per national group, plus group leaders. The total number of participants must be between 16 and 60 in total, plus group leaders. Advanced planning visits can also be included in these projects. And moving on to European Voluntary Service, also known as EVS. These projects allow young people aged 17 to 30 to take part in unpaid and full-time voluntary service for up to 12 months in another country within or outside the European Union. The project duration can vary between 3 and 24 months. Depending on the activity duration, there are 2 types of EVS. Long-term EVS, which can last anywhere from 2 to 12 months, and short-term EVS, which can last anywhere from 2 weeks to 2 months. This can be done if the project involves young people with fewer opportunities or groups of 10 people or more. As with the youth exchanges, the minimum age must be reached at the start of the activity, and the maximum age must not be exceeded at the time of the application. If you're planning on including 17-year-old volunteers, please be aware that there are a number of additional requirements linked to child protection that you will need to address in order to be granted funding. The project approval will be conditional on provision of clearly documented evidence of appropriate risk management and safeguarding measures for said participants. The activity types that can be included are daily work at the organisations in the field of health and social care, environmental conservation, or other community projects. The maximum number of volunteers for the whole project is 30, and advanced planning visits can also be included. For all EVS participating organisations, an EVS accreditation is required. Applicants for accreditation can be submitted at any time. However, the submissions must be done at least 6 weeks before the Key Action 1 deadline you tend to apply for. There'll be more information on this later in the presentation. Successful beneficiaries register and manage volunteers via our tool known as Mobility Tool. All volunteers with placements of 2 months or more can receive online training for languages known as online linguistic support. The requirements for this OLS need to be specified within the application form, and all volunteers using the online tool will undertake a pre-departure language assessment online. As previously mentioned, you can complete an advanced planning visit for youth exchanges and EVS. These must be used where applications involve young people with fewer opportunities. Their duration must be of maximum 2 days, excluding travel days, and the number of participants is generally 1 participant per group. There is a possibility to raise the number to 2 participants per group, only if at least 1 participant is a young person who will take part in the activity. The project focusing on mobility of youth workers supports the professional development of youth workers of any age. The project duration can be between 3 and 24 months, with activities lasting from 2 days to 2 months. These projects include transnational and international seminars, training courses, contact-making events and study visits, or job shadowing and observation period abroad in an organisation active in the youth field. Mobility projects will involve several organisations which will have to assume some roles and tasks. Therefore, we have 3 types of roles: coordinator, sending organisation, and the receiving or hosting organisation. The coordinator will be the one applying for the whole project on behalf of all the partner organisations. It's therefore sometimes referred to as the applicant organisation. Organisations must be based and registered in the UK. The sending organisation will be in charge of sending young people or youth workers abroad. This includes organising the necessary practical arrangements and pre-departure preparation of participants. The receiving organisation will be in charge of hosting the actual activity and developing the programme of activities for participants in cooperation with other participating organisations. Both the sending and receiving organisations are responsible for providing support to the participants throughout the lifetime of the project. All young people and youth workers involved in KA1 can receive a Youth Pass certificate. This certificate describes and validates non-formal and informal learning that has taken place within the project's activities. It can be used as a guide during placements and projects to encourage learning. You can find more details on the official website at www.youthpass.eu. It's important to link your KA1 project to the overarching European priorities and show the added value of carrying out your project on a European level. When doing so, it's important to keep the general objectives of the Erasmus Plus programme in mind, as well as the important features of the programme. The general objectives of Erasmus Plus is to contribute to a number of policies, which you can see on the slide. The objectives are covered in more detail in Part A of the Erasmus Plus programme guide, as well as the following important features of the Erasmus Plus programme. The Europe 2020 strategy, including the headline education target, the strategic framework for European cooperation in education and training, the sustainable development of partner countries in the field of higher education, the renewed framework for European cooperation in the field of youth, the objective of developing the European dimension in sport, in particular grassroots sports, in line with the EU work plan for sports, and the promotion of European values in accordance with Article 2 of the Treaty of the European Union, which includes human dignity, freedom, democracy and equality. The important features of Erasmus Plus are detailed in Part A of the programme guide and include recognition of skills and multilingualism. Please have a look at these carefully before making an application. And you can find the specific objectives for the field of education and training on page 28 of the programme guide. So this is just to remind you of the deadline of applications under Key Action 1 Youth. All applications must be submitted online using the new version of the e-form on our website by 11 AM UK time on the 4th of October. Please ensure you begin working on your application as soon as possible. Our team is extremely busy in the run-up to this deadline, and while we do our best to support all applicants, this may not be possible if you submit questions right before the deadline. We will strongly urge organisations to submit their applications at their earliest opportunity. There is an alternative submissions procedure if you suffer technical issues that prevent you from submitting your application, and this process is stated in our application guide. Most organisations that have participated either with Erasmus Plus previously or have participated with the European Commission funding previously will already have a PIC. I've included a few slides showing frequently asked questions around the PIC process for those that are new. In order to apply for Erasmus Plus funding, the applicant organisation must have a participant identification code, also known as a PIC. If your organisation does not have a PIC, the legal entity appointed representative, also known as LEA, must first register on the EU login to create an account. Using the email address used to register on the EU login, the LEA will then need to register on the participant portal to generate a PIC for your organisation. This PIC should then be used to apply for funding. A PIC is essential for the application, but is also necessary to access the European Commission's digital tools, such as the Mobility Tool. Please note that if you already have a PIC from previous application years, this should be used to apply for mobility funding. Each organisation should only have one PIC that should be used in all applications for Erasmus Plus funding. And now be going through some of the common questions we get asked about the PIC process. First of all, how can I check my institution's PIC? If you aren't sure of your institution's PIC, you can actually search via the participant portal. Following the hyperlink on this slide, which will be sent out to you shortly, you'll be able to select search from the organisations tab. We are also frequently asked what documents need to be uploaded. So each organisation requires a financial identity form and a legal entity form to be uploaded to the organisation's data. Both will have to be accompanied by a supporting document. The financial identification form needs to have a recent bank statement as a supporting document. Alternatively, if this is not possible, the form will need to be stamped and signed by your bank, confirming details. The legal entity form needs to have any document of incorporation or registration which proves the legality of the organisation as a supporting document. Only the LEA is able to do this, but if you've taken part previously with Erasmus Plus, you should have done this already. If you haven't done this, there are links in the forms in this slide and we have guidance on our website. Now we'll have a few minutes to take any specific questions you may have around the PIC process.
Hello everyone. While we're waiting, I'll run a quick poll to see how many of you already have a PIC. Could you please raise your hand if you've already registered your organisation on the portal? I can see most of you already answered the question anyway. But Okay, thanks everyone for answering the poll, and we can see that 86% of you present today have already registered. We can see 14% have not. So obviously to apply for an Erasmus Plus grant you will need to register a PIC, so it is highly recommended that you do register before applying.
Thank you for that, Dan. We'll just move on with the rest of the presentation now. For any organisation that is planning to partake in EVS projects, either as a coordinator, host or sending organisation, an EVS accreditation is required. The EVS accreditation is required prior to applying for funding. So if you don't have an EVS accreditation at the moment and you submit an application, your application may be rejected. EVS accreditation is designed to ensure consistently high standards in EVS and to help organisations find partners. Accreditation is a quality assurance process so that all parties involved are aware of the values, objectives and rules of EVS. All accredited organisations must show they are able to implement EVS projects according to the rules of the Erasmus Plus programme. You can submit your application for the EVS accreditation at any time during the year to the UK National Agency. However, please bear in mind that you must apply at least 6 weeks before the relevant funding application deadline. As previously mentioned, if you apply for an EVS project without having EVS accreditation, your application may be made ineligible. Also, please keep in mind that all partner promoters engaged in the project need to hold a valid accreditation. In case you work with promoters from partner countries such based in Eastern Europe and the Caucasus region, Western Balkans or South Mediterranean, they also need to hold an accreditation and can obtain this via a SALTO resource centre. The EVS accreditation of your organisation can be valid for the entire duration of the Erasmus programme or for a shorter period, and this is depending on the outcome of the accreditation process. In the second case, you will simply have to reapply for the EVS accreditation. If you do wish to apply for EVS accreditation, you can submit an application at any time, but we cannot guarantee this will be assessed in time to apply for the round 3 applications, as the 4th of October is now less than 5 weeks away. So now we'll take a few minutes to take any specific queries you may have about the EVS accreditation process.
Okay, and while you have time to ask questions, I'll run a second poll to ask those of you who are interested in making an EVS application. Do you already have an application? Yes or no? Okay, so now I'll just be wrapping up that second poll about EVS accreditation. So as you can see from results, it's straight down the middle at 50% yes and 50% no. So again, it's if you are interested in applying for an EBS project, do make sure that before you apply, you have successfully gained your EBS accreditation, either hosting, sending or coordinating. Thank you.
Okay, now moving on to the application form. As I stated at the beginning of the webinar, this session is not designed to cover the application form, but we do get some frequently asked questions about the form that would be useful to cover. Please note that the new version of the form will be a web-based e-form rather than the PDF version. The content of the application will be the same as before, but the functionality has changed. This will be covered in more detail in the application webinar on the 14th of September. And the link to sign up to this is on our website now. So organisations have asked us if there is only one e-form for the 3 different types of projects under Key Action 1 Youth. The simple answer is yes. The form will, however, differentiate in specific sections. For example, new sections will be generated if you are to pick an EBS activity within the activities details section. We've also been asked, do we need to include our partner information on the application? And the answer is yes. You'll see in the form there are specific areas requesting information regarding your partners, and it's in line with the information requested for yourselves. Considering that a strong partnership is crucial, there will be various areas within the application where the expertise, skills and experience of your partners and their main staff members should be detailed. The award criteria will be looking at the relevance of the project, the quality of the project design and implementation, and the impact and dissemination. You'll find detailed information on this within the programme guide on page 83. It's important to note that when looking at the relevance of the project, it's mentioned that the project needs to be in line with the objectives of the specific action. This can be found on page 78 of the programme guide, and the overall objectives of the programme, which can be found on page 9 of the programme guide. So we've been asked, our legal representative is changing, and what should we do? When we issue the grant agreement of your approved budget for 2017, it will state the legal representative as recorded in the application form, unless we've been told otherwise. So if the legal representative is going to change after you've submitted the application form, this isn't a problem. It's important to notify the UKNA immediately, and we'll inform you about the required steps to have this change recorded and approved. The NA will provide you with a changes form, and will strongly urge you to return this as soon as possible, along with a letter of the new appointment, so we can update your organisation's details. So in these situations, you must expect that this will cause a delay when we get the form completed. If the legal representative is changing whilst you're completing the application form, you'll simply record the details of the new legal representative. The next question is the Declaration of Honour the only annex required? No. Along with the Declaration of Honour, there are 2 other important annexes that should be attached with the application form. These are the timetable of activities and the partner mandates. You'll be able to download the templates for both of these from our website under the section Apply for Youth Mobility Funding. You'll also be able to find information on these within the guide for applicants and within the guide for assessors. Another frequently asked question is, what's the difference between project duration and activity or mobility duration? The project duration refers to the full duration of the actual project, which can be between 3 and 24 months for all 3 types of projects. The activity or mobility duration refers to the actual duration of activities implemented during the lifetime of a project. As previously mentioned, durations can be 5 to 21 days for youth mobilities, and 2 days to 2 months for youth worker mobilities. An EVS can either be short-term, from 2 weeks to 2 months, or long-term, from 2 months to 12 months. We also asked, can we replace participants from a country with participants from a different country? Yes, you can. The scenarios can be, for example, that one of the partner countries had a smaller number of participants showing interest, or the participants or the actual partner has withdrawn. In this situation, you'd like to bring in participants from other countries in order to keep your number balanced and to make use of the funding. You're able to do this, however, it's extremely important that you inform the NA as soon as you've decided to do this. Also, you must be aware that given that your grant was approved in line with the information submitted at application stage, the travel amounts have been approved based on a specific distance band. Therefore, if you make changes in where the participants come from, the amount approved will not be able to be changed. I.e., if the distance band of the new participants is higher, you will not receive any additional funding. Now we'll take a quick look at some details regarding the budget. Before I begin, I want to emphasise on how important it is to take a careful look at the entire section on budgets within the programme guide. This can be found on pages 89 to 101 and our Key Action 1 Youth Guide for Applicants. Here you will find even more details and explanations for everything that I will be mentioning in this slide. Distance bands are used to keep track of the actual movement of participants, and these are calculated using the distance calculator. There will be a link to this within our guide for applicants and show you how to use this within the application webinar. However, we want to mention a very important thing. The distance bands, when registered within the application form, will automatically calculate a two-way round trip. Therefore, please bear in mind not to double the distance, and very importantly, be certain of the locations you are using. The travel top-up for expensive domestic travel costs is an additional piece of cost included in this year. Very briefly, this is for expensive domestic travel costs over €225, therefore not for the 0 to 9 kilometres travel, and are for return trips to reach either a remote area within the country of origin or the receiving country. This request would have to be duly justified. And as I said earlier, more details can be found within the guide for applicants and the programme guide. And last thing to mention, only 25% of our overall Key Action 1 youth budget has been allocated to the activities involving partner countries. So as the applicant, you should think carefully about your partners. The priority is on programme countries as much as possible. And I will just mention once again, please carefully read the details on budget provided within both the programme guide and the guide for applicants.
Okay then, now we'll be having our final poll of the session, which is simply, is your organisation ready to submit an application? Okay, thank you for those who voted. So, as we can see from results, it's just under 29% of people think they're not ready to submit, and 71% think that they are ready to submit. So I would say to those 29% who don't feel that they're ready to definitely consult the programme guide for more guidance, and also to sign up for our follow-up webinar next Thursday, the details of which could be found at erasmusplus.org.uk/events. Thank you.
Just a bit of further information for you. Once budgets have been allocated for projects, we will publish funding results on our webpage. There will be a link on this slide when it's sent out to you. And the slides from this session and a recording will also be provided in a follow-up email issued 2 days after this session. On this screen, I provided a link to the 2017 programme guide and with specific page references to useful information if you're planning to submit an application. On page 279, you will find information on required accreditation. On pages 89 to 101, you'll find information on budgets. Pages 278 to 283, you'll find additional criteria and important information concerning the preparation, implementation and follow-up of mobility projects for young people and youth workers. And page 309 onwards, you'll find information on impact and dissemination. Finally, here are our contact details. Our team at the UK National Agency is also available every day from Monday to Friday to answer any queries you may have. Alternatively, you can give us a call. We'll now stay for another 10 or so minutes just to answer any further questions you may have. But finally, thank you and best of luck with your application. If you do need any help, please do get in touch.